Yeah. It's definitely served us and, challenged us. And I think that's the gift of marriage, and getting to like see how both of our practices have evolved and even like different coaching groups or different advice. What works in one space doesn't always work in the other. So it's, forged us in fire to get good in our communication skills.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're not asking all those patients in your office about their families and why aren't they getting in there, and like you've seen what it does for you, like obviously it would help your kids as well.
It's one little thing like that. Why spend the money? Because that's one of the biggest hurdles is people like, well, it costs a lot of money to take your team. It costs a lot of money to go to
Well,
Europe.
my wife tells me that it's a tenfold return on your investment.
It is. It is. But, what do you believe? Not just what does your crazy wife
It's
harp at you.
usually pays off. Usually the practice grows, and it's.
And life is short, right?
Yeah, you get a fun weekend that I like to count them as dates, but she tells me that sometimes those are work trips. That's not necessarily a date trip. So.
Hello, chiropractic brothers and sisters. Welcome to Adjust the Adjuster, having some much needed chiropractic conversations. Good for the soul to wake up that special something within so that we can all supercharge and get out there and serve more people. This week, I get to bring my chiropractor to the microphone. I get to bring my husband, my best friend, my soulmate, the chiropractic legend, Dr. Joey Vrana.
What's up?
I'm so happy to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Really
grateful for the opportunity.
We met in chiropractic school. So when you look at all the ground that we've covered since, we've come a long way, especially.
That was a work in progress,
Yeah, but I'm adjusting you.
That's
You're
right.
getting better all the time. We graduated in August of 2010. It starts to feel crazy that we've put in that many, years since then. One of the most common questions that we get is, we're a couple. There's a lot of chiropractic couples out there, but we do not practice together. We did. We started out together. So I would love to hear, his version of why it worked for us maybe in the beginning and why we did that fresh out of school, but also why, because we get that question of why would you want two overheads? Why would you want to have separate practices? So why don't we practice together?
Well, we wanted to stay married. Step one.
Important.
That's the biggest one. In the beginning, we wanted to have two people helping carry the boats and have kind of a very common direction to push for. And as soon as we got that one up and going, it became very clear that there was two bosses in the house, and there was two sets of ideas on how the practice should be ran, and it just became a little bit sticky with staff on who to listen to. And I think they should always listen to me, and she thinks they should always listen to her.
And yet they knew that I was always right, so
And so we got some really great advice that we should split offices about 2 years into practice. They're like, you both need your own offices and you guys would double your volume. And it was seriously 6 to 8 weeks after we split offices that both of our volumes doubled. And since then, it has not slowed down and has just gotten better and better and better. But if you look at both of our offices, she has tons of color and a very vibrant, beautiful office. And I have a very manly gray and black.
Haven't changed a thing since we started.
Well,
but
it's working,
It's consistent.
Yeah.
Why it ain't broke, don't fix
That's
it.
right.
I rearrange the furniture on a weekly basis sometimes. And, I think comes down to vision, right? So I don't think there's any couple or any circumstance that's the same. But when you look at the vision, while so many things were similar, we were fundamentally pretty different in who we wanted to serve, how we wanted to serve. He's in a small town. I wanted to be a little bit closer to town. And so there were enough things that weren't in full alignment that, you can't have two people wearing the same hat in that boss seat. And so I let him run things for a little while. And then I got to open my own. And it's been, now, that said, the greatest blessing, I think, in my ability to really be a chiropractor and live a chiropractic lifestyle is that I'm married to a chiropractor and we live it. I mean, we raise our kids in it. We use the philosophy. expect miracles is not just something we hang up in our office. That's how we plan our goals and our finances and our, trajectory for our kids. And chiropractic is a way of life. So don't you agree? It's pretty great if you can find a chiropractor to
Yeah,
know?
being on the same page with the way we feed our kids, that we don't vaccinate our kids, and all of those different things that we're on the same page with. I can't imagine being married to someone that had different views on all of those things.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely served us and challenged us, and I think that's the gift of marriage, and getting to like see how both of our practices have evolved, and even like different coaching groups or different advice. What works in one space doesn't always work in the other, so it's forged us in fire to get good in our communication skills. I do love to ask when we do the AdjusTOR segments, what do you think is the most common subluxation that you see in chiropractic, just in general right now, just as a whole? If we just zoom out and like they say chiropractic serves about 10% of the population, 15% of the population, depending on who you're listening to. Why don't we serve more people? What is the subluxation that keeps us from, being at our full potential as chiropractors?
I think it all boils down to our belief, our certainty, our conviction. Those are things that if you waver in your conviction or your certainty when you're delivering a report of findings or giving recommendations to a patient, they feel that. Mm-hmm. They feel the wishy-washiness of the tone of your voice, or the treatment plan that you're giving them, your recommendations. And so being certain in your in what you're delivering is just so important.
I mean, yeah, that's step one. But what do you do about that? What's the adjustment, right? If somebody out there is like, maybe they think they're certain, or maybe they know they aren't. If somebody needs a certainty adjustment, how do you help yourself get your footing?
And stay in depth in different chiropractic seminars. And I don't think that it's sticking. It's not sticking your foot in one seminar and then doing that the rest of your life, which isn't bad. But we go to lots of different chiropractic seminars. Mm-hmm. And you come back from those seminars and you're a different person. You're more certain for weeks to months after that, but then it begins to kind of dwindle off, and you need a kind of kick in the butt and a recharge to not be afraid to tell those moms and dads, you need to get your kids checked. Mm-hmm. You need to get your parents in here. Yep. Does your husband get adjusted? Like
on fire.
Like yeah. If you're not asking all those patients in your office about their families and why aren't they getting in there, and like you've seen what it does for you, like obviously it would help your kids as well.
It's one little thing like that.
It's one little reminder. We went to this last seminar and it was talking about patient retention, and it gave me a totally different take on the end of care conversation, which makes those leaky holes in the
active care.
That's right. End of phase one, or right. Yeah. But and the way you communicate that with them at the end of their treatment plan. And I was just kind of telling them like, well, if you need us, we're here for you. Yeah. And totally losing that opportunity to explain the next phase and the plan that I had for them, and based off of their goals when they came in, what they had told me they were trying to accomplish, and then what my plan would be to keep them on the trajectory that they told me they wanted to be on.
True health and wellness. And so this year alone, I just want to speak into the ones that we've done so far, because we actively go get adjusted. Nobody comes to us and says, let me bring all that chiropractic fire to you. We are actively committing our schedules and making it a priority. Our kids know, like, we're not leaving you, we're going, for you. This is, we try to take them even when we can. But DE, so Dynamic Essentials, was one we'd heard about for a long time, hadn't been. This year we got to go. Why would you recommend just one thing, one adjustment you took away from DE?
It was just the heart and soul of chiropractic.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, 49 breaths. I'll link that in the show notes. Let's make sure you go check out.
And anytime you go, take your staff.
Yep, we took our teams.
There's so many things that overlap from chiropractic to life. Mm-hmm. And so many speakers don't just talk about chiropractic. They talk about goal setting, yep, or health, or breath work, or financial stuff. Yep. And so even taking my mom, your dad, our 13-year-old sat through Focus OKC this year. That was the other
one we went to.
And Jagger took 8 pages of notes.
Oh my gosh. So we took, I got to MC Focus this year. Shout out to Tim Young because he's just one of our favorite humans, but has made one of the biggest impacts chiropractically. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be able to put into words the impact that that guy has made on our lives, but also our son. So our 19-year-old and our twin 12-year-olds, went with us, and they took a ton of notes. And, it was funny just to look down at, like, you wonder, are they getting it? They're in the room, and like, yeah, they're getting it.
And they only have to hear one thing that motivates them to be more respectful, more on the football field, better in any way, and it's worth taking them. So anytime you can take your team, kids, family members, etc.
You never know how far reaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Focus, why would you recommend Focus to somebody? What's Focus OKC about? If you had to sum it up in one little, like, why would you go to that?
It's just purpose. It helps with purpose, certainty,
And
passion.
Focus.
Yeah.
The heart and just soul, man. Like, Tim always
It's like his 14th or 15th year.
Puts together an amazing lineup. So we did those two. What about TRP, the Remarkable Practice?
Remarkable Practice, 100% recommend. That's a big chiropractic seminar. I couldn't believe how many members and staff and people that were there. There was 500 or 700 people in the room, which is pretty large.
In Nashville. Mm-hmm. This one was about conversion and retention, and it's a business focused organization. Also going to link the book for TRP, the seminar for TRP. Guys, please go check this out. Like, it's one of the ones that I'm all fire. But if you're all fire and you don't have systems and structures to be able to harness that fire and put it in a direction, like, you're missing out. And we went there and took our girls, and you get one little thing that you come back in and it just, cranks the volume up just a little bit. You get a little more clear. You get a little more concise. You get a little more convicted about what we're doing.
Yeah, it was really the nuts and bolts owner's manual of how to run a practice, how to scale a practice, how to add associates in a practice and make your practice where it's something that's sellable later on. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so being 13 years into practice, that was very beneficial. But a lot of the seminars are they pump you up and they get you back on purpose, but they don't necessarily help your business structure and the way you operate your day-to-day flow. And
I believe it's going to be one of the biggest adjustments in the profession.
And we've been to Mile High, and we've been to countless other seminars.
ChiroFest. And they're all good.
They're all good.
Yeah, but they're all very, very different. We're also getting ready to go, on a retreat and taking our oldest son who wants to be a chiropractor, and we're going to Greece and Spain. And, we haven't gone yet, but, like, why do you think, because we're really big in, bringing people with us along the way. So we usually don't go. We're also reaching across and asking, our friends, do you want to go? Our family members that are chiropractors, do you want to go? Our teams, do you want to go? / you got to go because, we can't go without you. Why do you think it's so important? And, specifically about some of the bigger ones like this retreat, like, why spend the money? Because that's one of the biggest hurdles is people like, well, it costs a lot of money to take your team. It costs a lot of money to go to Europe.
Well, my wife tells me that, it's a tenfold return on your investment.
It is. But, what do you believe? Not just what does your crazy wife
It usually pays off. Usually the practice grows, and it's.
And life is short, right?
Yeah, you get a fun weekend that I like to count them as dates, but she tells me that sometimes those are work trips. That's not necessarily a date trip. So
this guy, not in front of our friends. Let's save that.
Keep it okay.
Let's save that for later. But we had a common mentor, Dr. Steve Hayes, who said you can't learn from experiences that you're not going to, right? Like, if you're going to dare to dream, you got to do the work. And seminars are that. We don't go there to, just play, but it should be fun. Chiropractic should be fun. So
if you're just going to your office day in, day out for 5 years and you're never reaching up, all professional athletes have a coach. Mm-hmm. All professionals that do really big things are getting coaching in some direction. So it's like, if you're thinking about your office as being a professional athlete or being at the highest level possible, no matter what level you're at, that's what makes those seminars so important. Is it's like you are trying to find other knowledge that's going to help you in business. It's going to help you in chiropractic. It's going to help you in life.
Yep. I want to get a little nitty gritty I know we've each navigated, tough things physically, emotionally through practice, and chances are statistically somebody who would even tune into a conversation like this is probably like struggling in some way or in a storm. So number one, like we really mean it when we say like if we can support you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out because we've been blessed with really good friends and mentors. So we mean it. Reach out if we can support you. But that said, like you've, dislocated your elbow. So concentrating on like physical pains, like how do you tough through those seasons where like it's not just going to go away? You got to like, how do you keep yourself well adjusted in mindset and physically to get through some of those challenging seasons physically?
Well, you just think about that patient that's coming in a wheelchair that is in a 10 out of 10 pain and can't sleep at night. And I would say if you don't have it as rough as that person, then you probably should drag your butt into work and put other people first and be service mindset first as opposed to worried about your own ailments. But there comes a time in practice when maybe you do need a break, maybe you do need a week or two off to reset, and you're not in your highest giving potential in your office, and so maybe you should take a week off.
Yep.
But only you can make that decision. But I think by and large, putting others first, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and calling on your team to step it up maybe when you don't have it to give. We've gone through lots of things emotionally, and even the birth of kids, and you're maybe a little tired because you've got two sets twins coming in the world, and there's some financial stress or a death in the family or big emotional things. How do you gear yourself up on a day when your mind's not right or when your heart is just sad? You're sad, or like, how do you get through that?
You got to shake yourself up, get in a peak state, exercise, cold shower, breath work, 49 breaths or some sort of breath work certainly puts you in a peak state. You can't take a cold shower and be the same person after cold therapy. You get out, you're 100% charged up and ready to go. So.
And then one chiropractic tool, last question. If you got one tool, whether it's, one of the green books or a one-liner or piece of advice, like if you think back of all the learning you've done that you're like, you could just give one thing to our boys before they set off on their chiropractic journey, what's that one anchor piece of advice that you're like, if you get this big idea, then all else is going to follow?
Having a really big vision. Having a really big vision, and when you hear of somebody seeing a certain number of people, instead of saying that's not possible, just write it down as a goal every day and see if the universe takes you in that direction and see if it is possible, because there's lots of people that help tons and tons of people on a regular basis and have been doing it for a very long time. And so I would say just not having those limiting beliefs that if some chiropractor moves in next door that your practice is going to go down, or there's not enough spines out there, or
Dream bigger.
Dream bigger.
Yeah, and fear nothing.
Fear nothing.
Fear nothing. This guy, that's his, like, if you know how BJ had all of his epigrams, if Joe had an epigram, fear nothing. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that apply to chiropractic?
It's just taking massive action every day to move the pendulum forward. So
in a time of chaos, if you are a chiropractor that stands in fear nothing, the people who doubt and suffer right now will come find you, because that energy field is exactly what I feel like people are starving for. So this guy, I'm so blessed. Thank you for your time. Thank you for keeping me well adjusted. Thank you for helping other chiropractors out there the way that, we hope somebody takes care of our kiddos out in the field one day.
Well, hopefully this helps, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Lots of love, friends. We'll see you soon.